Well, I think it's safe to say that Hoppers will be one of the best animated movies that we'll see this year, without a doubt. Animated movies love hiding things in plain sight, and Hoppers is no exception. While most people were focusing on the main story, Mabel trying to save the clearing, the Animal Council, and the chaos in the final act, the movie quietly slips a lot of small details into the background that you definitely didn't see. Some of them are quick visual jokes, and a few are clear nods to classic Pixar films. And if you look closely, you can actually spot references to well-known Pixar characters, little Easter eggs hidden in the professor's lab, and background details that animation fans will probably recognize right away. And in this video, we're going to be talking about all the hidden secrets that you didn't notice in the Pixar's Hoppers movie. So without further ado, guys, let's just get right into it. The main thing about Hoppers and Pixar is that they waste absolutely no time sneaking its first reference to another Pixar film. We see a young Mabel trying to free several animals from her classroom. Among them is a small turtle that she's determined to set free. During this scene, we learn that the turtle's name is actually Crush. That name immediately stands out because Crush is also the laid-back surfer turtle from Finding Nemo, one of Pixar's most beloved characters, and in that film, Crush is actually the one that helps Marlin and Dory travel through the East Australian current while delivering some of the movie's most memorable and funny lines. The character was so popular that he later returned in Finding Dory, so the fact that the turtle in Hopper shares the same name is almost certainly intentional, of course, and it's a small little Easter egg, and it also fits perfectly with the movie's theme of animal friendship and adventure. One of the Pixar's longest running traditions is the appearance of the Pizza Planet truck, which first appeared in Toy Story 1. Since then, Pixar animators have hidden that truck somewhere in almost every single one of their movies. Sometimes it appears clearly in the background, other times it's redesigned or hidden in clever ways to match the setting of the film. In Hoppers, the truck appears in a more subtle form. When Mabel is trying to escape from school with the animal she's rescued, there is a brief moment where a small model version of the Pizza Planet truck can be spotted inside of a display case. Right there. It's not driving around or interacting with the characters like it does in other movies. Instead, it's placed there almost like a collectible item. That makes this version of the Easter egg a little harder to spot, which is likely intentional. Pixar animators often enjoy hiding these references just well enough that only careful viewers will notice them. The biggest cluster of Easter eggs in Hoppers appears near the end of the film in Dr. Sam's lab. After Hopper's program is shut down, the movie briefly shows a chalkboard filled with ideas of other inventions she might work on in the future, and this board is packed with references to other Pixar movies, so let's take a look. The first one we see is Dog's Talking Collar. One of the most obvious drawings on the board shows a dog collar that translates barking into speech. This is clearly a reference to the technology worn by Doug in Up, and the idea is even labeled as Idea 113, which is another reference to A113. The other Pixar Easter egg we see is WALL-E. Another concept labeled as Idea 8 shows a small robot designed to clean up trash. The design is supposed to be a resemblance, but it's not a resemblance. It's just a drawing of WALL-E in the chalkboard. There is even a robot nearby that somewhat resembles Eve, suggesting the chalkboard might represent early versions of technologies that have appeared in other Pixar films. Then we see Socks from Lightyear. One of the sketches labeled as Idea 92 shows a robotic cat. That is the design of Socks from Lightyear. In that movie, Socks acts as a robotic companion to Buzz Lightyear, helping him with calculations and offering emotional support during the mission. Another drawing in the chalkboard says, "What if we trained dogs to fly?" And this is almost certainly a reference to the scene in Up where Charles Munt's dogs pilot airplanes. Interestingly enough, Dr. Sam seems to think the idea is ridiculous because the note next to it says, "Too far." Another concept on the board shows a human brain connected to a car. This could be a subtle reference to Cars, where the entire world is populated by sentient vehicles. If taken seriously, this idea could even imply that Dr. Sam's technology might eventually lead to something like the world seen in Cars. And finally, another idea on the chalkboard asks whether vocal sounds can be converted into energy. And that concept is exactly what powers the city of none other than Monsters Inc., where monsters generate electricity from children's screams. Whether this is just a fun Easter egg or a deeper connection between the films, it's another clever reference hidden in the background. And by the way, this scene in Pixar might be the single most cluttered scene with Pixar Easter eggs in the whole of the Pixar universe. Before Mabel enters a robotic beaver body and begins her adventure in the animal world, the movie briefly shows her phone, and it turns out the case is covered with references. One of the designs of the case is a Wilderness Explorer's badge, the same scouting organization that Russell belongs to in Up. In that movie, Russell spends most of the story trying to earn badges by helping people people and learning new skills. Seeing that badge on Mabel's phone not only brings incredible nostalgia, but it also suggests that she shares the same similar spirit that the guy did in Up. She wants to help animals and protect nature. The second reference of the phone case is one of the iconic three-eyed green aliens from the Toy Story series. These little aliens became some of the most recognizable side characters in the franchise thanks to their obsession with the claw. Their appearance on Mabel's phone is a fun visual joke and another reminder of Pixar's habit of referencing past films in their movies. One interesting Easter egg in Hoppers actually comes from the film's director rather than Pixar itself. Before directing the movie, Daniel Chong created the animated series We Bare Bears, which aired on Cartoon Network for 3 seasons. Chong confirmed that the main characters from the show, Grizz, Panda, and Ice Bear, appear briefly in Hoppers. They can be seen sitting on a windowsill in Mabel's bedroom during a short scene. It's a quick moment that's easy to miss, but it's clearly meant as an attribute to the director's earlier work. The connection goes even further through the voice cast. Actors from We Bare Bears also appear in the movie. Bobby Moynihan, who voiced Panda, plays King George. Dimitri Martin, the voice of Ice Bear, voiced a group of birds, and Eric Edelstein, the voice of Grizz, also provides additional voices in the movie. These details make the Easter egg feel less like a coincidence and more like a deliberate homage to the show, of course. There is no doubt about that. Another tradition that appears in many Pixar films is the code A113. This number refers to the classroom at the California Institute of Arts, where several famous animators, including John Lasseter, Pete Docter, and Brad Bird, studied animation. Over the years, Pixar has hidden A113 in many different places across their movies, and in Hoppers, the reference appears as the room number for Dr. Sam's lab at Beaverton University. It's a clever placement because the original A113 was also a classroom, so the Easter egg has essentially come full circle this time, appearing once again as a location connected to education and creativity. One of the least subtle references in Hoppers happens when Mabel first learns about Dr. Sam's body swapping technology. As she tries to understand how it works, she directly compares it to Avatar. Dr. Sam quickly shuts that idea down, insisting that the technology is completely different from Avatar, but the comparison actually makes a lot of sense. In Avatar, the human protagonist transfers his consciousness into Navi's body in order to interact with the alien world of Pandora. In Hoppers, the same basic concept is used to place a human mind inside of an animal body. Both stories share similar themes about protecting nature and challenging corporations that exploit the environment. So even though the movie jokes about the comparison, the influence is clearly there. After Mabel enters the wilderness for the first time in her robotic beaver body, she suddenly finds herself surrounded by animals. And in one quick moment, we see a rabbit and a skunk standing together. This appears to be a reference to Bambi, where the characters Thumper and Flower share the same animal pairing. While the characters in Hoppers don't look exactly the same, the combination of a rabbit and a skunk standing together is a strong visual nod to the classic Disney film, and knowing that Disney and Pixar are the same corporation makes a lot of sense. And those are the hidden Easter eggs you probably missed in Hoppers.